Hey guys, welcome back. This video is all about timber framing. If you don't know what it is, I hope that you stick around and find out. So without further ado, let's get started.
So this is a 24-foot beam that's going to be part of my second floor. I'm going to do some old school timber framing with mortise and tenons and round pegs. And here I have a mortise that I got to cut out on this end. And I'm just gonna get started on that. And then once I'm done with it, I have another one over here on this end that I got to cut out as well. And then once they're done, I will flip it all the way over and start cutting out my joints for my joists that are going up top. So I'm gonna set you up and get started. All right, so there we have it. We got two mortises done. Let me show you what we're looking like over here. So if you look here, this is a mortise. This is my first mortise that I've ever done. Well, this one and the one at the other end of the post. So got these two done. I got to take and do my tenons on these beams here, or correction, these posts on this one and this one down here. All right, so it's day two of me working on my timbers. Last night I cut out my mortises on my 24-foot beam. And today I'm going to pull my measurements for how long my posts have got to be and chop the excess off and then start working on my tenants on this post and my other post at the other end. So I'm gonna get started with that right now. I already got my mark at the end marked out to where I gotta chop off. So I'm gonna get to cutting on that. Alright guys, it's the third day of working on this beam. So today I'm going to start cutting out my joints, which is I'm going to do dovetails for my joists. So I'm going to get started on that. I'm going to set you up so y'all can see what I got going on. I got these daggum pockets done for my joists. Did some dovetails. I could tell that I was getting better at it the further along that I come down, because the first one I did was a little bit of slack in my template that I got here. But the more I come down, the tighter they got. So definitely got better with it. I'm glad I'm done though, because my chisel is starting to get a little dull. Sad part about it is I don't have a slick or anything like that. I just have cheap chisels. But I mean, they've done the job so far. Couldn't ask for anything better, I guess. So let me show you what I got real quick, and we're gonna call it the evening, because I'm tired, I'm hungry. I tried to get this done earlier today, but the rain come in, and I was actually working on with my sawmill and cutting my boards for my knees. It goes in between this beam and the post, and it helps keep that 90-degree angle. So I got those cut, but every time I go to start cutting on it, it started lightning. And so I'd come inside, and then it started hailing on me. So I waited it out and was going to just go ahead and film this, but man, the rain was so loud in this building, it was just ridiculous, so I wasn't able to do it, so I just waited it out. But let me show you these pockets real quick. So this is what they look like. Kind of got a little V to it, I guess you'd say. It slides down in and just locks in place whenever I put the joists in. They'll be 6x6s. But I got 5 of them done. So I still have one more to do, but I gotta wait on my wife to tell me what she's wanting done on this top floor before I end up putting them in and not actually having that last one setting where I need it to be, because that one's going to depend on the top floor, where the edge of the top floor is going, because the staircases will come up right next to where that wall is going to be. Well, don't go nowhere. Stay tuned, because I got more right behind this one. Okay, so one of the last things that I got to do is cut out my mortise and tenon for my knee braces, and they'll go in between the posts and the beam to kind of help it keep that 90-degree angle in the corner. Which you see this one here behind me. I did this one off camera. It's going to take and kind of fit. I'm going to set it in place and I'll show you. It'll fit like this in between the post and the beam. So whenever I actually had started cut it on this, I was doing it on film, and I ended up running into kind of a problem. So whenever I got to the inside of where my tenon was, the wood was rotten. So I had to basically stop on that piece and start on another one. By that time I was aggravated and just didn't want to film it anymore. So I ended up having to put another log on the sawmill and cut it. And my dumb tail left it sitting outside, and it rained, so it's soaking wet, so I gotta wait until I can cut that one as well. But I'll show you what I'm talking about. So I started cutting this one here, And this side was good, which has got a lot of moisture in this thing right now. So I started cutting this one and was going great. And then I got to this side. And I don't know if you can see, but the inside of that's rot. So that piece was no good. So, I mean, some of these logs that I got out here have been sitting outside for quite some while in my stack. So I gotta cut them and go through them and see what's good and what's not. But what I gotta do now is cut the the mortises inside the beam. And it's kind of like I did at the very beginning of the video where I cut those pockets into the wood. So I gotta do the same thing for this. That way, whenever I'm putting it together, this piece will slide into the post, and then it'll also slide and lock into the beam, and then I'll put, you know, the round pegs through the center of it. So I gotta take and pull this thing apart because, you know, I had to put it together so I could take and figure out where my marks are gonna be on here. So I gotta pull it apart, flip it, and then start cutting my 5-inch tenon in there. So I'll show you what that's about. Okay, so there it is. Well, I'm sweating like crazy. So took a minute, but that's what it looks like when it's in the post. So all I did was take and, you know, create this pocket for it, and it just sits down in there, and then the peg will go all the way through this piece here, and it will lock it into place. So, which is, the only thing I do kind of hate is that my beams and posts aren't 100% plumb, but I did it on purpose because I wanted kind of that, just that old feel, I guess you'd say, like from if somebody went off into the woods and chopped down a tree and created this. You know, they're not always going to turn out 100% plumb. So I kind of wanted that look. And I mean, I got some bad spots in the wood. Well, not necessarily bad, it's just from where bugs and stuff had bored little holes, but the wood itself is still good, but it just get a little bit more character. So what I have to do now is, which I got this side over here put together so I can pretty much mark out the same area like I did on these over here. So I know where to cut my pockets. And, but I'm gonna have to take the beam and, I mean, I guess I can do it right here because it's gonna go right here. But that's a whole lot of just sitting down and working, but I mean, I can manage it, I guess. Ain't nothing I ain't ever done just sitting on my butt working. So, but I gotta do that one. I gotta get the other ones at the other end cut out and joined up. And after this, my next stage is going to be making my plates. Basically for the beams to sit on, they're gonna be 1 inch thick. So I had this idea that I'm gonna do. You can buy these brackets to mount them to, but I really don't wanna do that because everything that I'm doing here is pretty much handmade for the most part. So if you've ever seen some huge plates that connect railroad ties down to the big beams that are on the ground. So I have actually a couple of those. So I'm going to take and get my 1 inch tubing, weld out my plates, and then weld those railroad ties to those plates. That way whenever I set my post, it's got big bolt holes that I can drill through and lock it in place. For right now, that's pretty much what's going on. I got just a little bit more to do before I can stand these up. I mean, I still need to sand on them, run my planer over them with my hand planer to knock out the bad burrs and all that, and then I'm gonna seal them. And I'm gonna go ahead and treat them as well. That way no little bugs can get in there and destroy what I've done. But for the most part, it's gonna look just rustic. And I think it'll go good with the house whenever it's done. So just into the next stage, I guess, and we'll get started with that. So you just seen how I made mortise, I made a tendon, and I made dovetail pockets. During the recording of everything, we got into kind of a time crunch on doing stuff, and I had to stop kind of recording and push a little further into the house so we could try to get into it before I actually got my beams put up. But the two things that I didn't get to record that I'm going to show you now is my 1 inch pegs that I made to run through the beam into the tenons, and they look like this. It's made out of white ash. I had a white ash tree that I'd cut down on the property back when we first started everything, and it sat out there for a good year drying out. But this is supposed to be a straight grain wood and pretty strong, but that's what I used to lock everything together.
The other thing that I made was the floor joist beams that have the dovetail cut out in it. I didn't get to record that, but I actually have a sample that I had done. It was the very first one I ever cut, just practicing on, and it's shaped like this, and it's in the same shape as the pocket, and all it does is just slide in place and it locks down. And that's the only thing that's holding the beam together is the wood pegs and the floor joist with the dovetail. We finally got the beam put up in the air, got it locked down in place on the floor, and connected to the rest of the upstairs. It went pretty smoothly. There's a short little clip on how I did it. It wasn't very easy. We didn't have a machine or anything. I just used a chain hoist and connected it to the wall with a couple 2x6s and pulled it on up. It was nerve-wracking, but we got it up there. So I'm gonna show y'all a few pictures of that, and you can see how we stood it up, and there'll be some pictures of what it looks like after we got it all together and standing up straight. But guys, I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video, and I hope that y'all hit the like button, subscribe to our channel so we can try to grow this thing. Definitely new into this, but once again, man, I really appreciate everybody that's already subscribed and following. But just hit that bell, that way whenever I've uploaded something. I'm gonna try to get something up as soon as I can. Between building this house and farm animals and everything else, it's time consuming just trying to get this done. I was a little bit behind on wanting to get this uploaded, but guys, once again, I hope y'all like it, and thanks for stopping by.